Did you hear that?
Yeah, this meeting is being recorded.
Okay.
Got it.
Just if you can tell me a bit about yourself and how you first got into art.
Hi, my name's Melanie McCullen Walker. I am an artist based in Tasmania. I feel as if I got into art right at the start of my life in some ways. When I was quite young and still living in Barbados, I think that's where my love of art and drawing started. I think sometimes art has a way of expressing things or giving you a voice that you may not normally, to say things that you may not normally be able to say for yourself, or to represent you in a way that goes beyond who you are as a person. I just love the tangibility of it. I'd have to say, art is a relatively male-dominated industry. So coming in as a Black female from Barbados, I've been faced with a few challenges of acceptance, especially at the very start of my career. Quite often you're dismissed as just being a hobbyist, so they then, as a result, don't take you very seriously. It's just getting past those perceptions of, I've been in spaces where I've been exhibiting and people look at the work and assume that it was by a white male, for example. But I think you definitely have to work a little bit harder to be taken seriously if you're female or if you're, a cultural minority. But I definitely think it's worth it, especially if it inspires, someone who may look at my work who may not fit into the traditional norms of what creative might be in a particular sphere. I'm hoping that it might inspire color and women to just give it a go. It doesn't matter.
My name's Pippa. When I first got interested in dancing, I was really young. I did mum and dad, I think, to get rid of my energy as a kid, enrolled me in a very hippie, loose, free movement thing where I just ran in circles for an hour a day. And then when I was 6, I said, Mum, I want to be a ballerina. And then for Christmas, she put me in a jazz ballet class. And I was betrayed because I was like, what's jazz? And then that's when I started properly dancing at a dance school. I think since lockdown I stopped dancing at all. I used to dance on both Saturday and Sunday, full days, and I used to dance on Tuesday nights, Thursday nights and Friday nights. I like dancing because I think it brought me really good community when I needed it, especially in high school when I had no friends for periods of time. I think that I appreciate very much my physical understanding of my body and my body in space and how my body relates to other people. I don't think that that's something that people think about a lot, but I'm very glad that I've had that experience, and I don't know, I think it's a really beautiful art form to be able to connect with people and be sounds kind of gross, but super physically close to people in but non-romantic senses. At the end of the day, dance is all about expression, and I think the true power in dance lies in doing it yourself. I don't necessarily think it's about the spectatorship of it. I think it's about being present in your body and moving it around a space, and I'm never as present as I am than when I'm dancing. And I think it's maybe one of the only things that made me think critically about who I am, what I do, and how I relate to the world.
Hi, my name's Simone. I'm an ex-professional dancer. I first started dancing when I was 6. I turned professional when I was around 12, 13, and retired when I was 21. And the passion for starting to dance was to learn all the different styles of ballet, tap, song and dance, and jazz. One of my favourite performances was definitely doing Snow White. I was 15 at the time, and these were done during school holidays at all the different Westfields around Victoria. And that pantomime went on for 2 weeks. I played the part of Snow White. I went overseas at the age of 17, and then I was performing to audiences of 1,000+ people, and that was very exciting. That was a full stage crew, big spotlights, sound orchestras. The costumes were very elaborate. I got the opportunity to work with international performers as well, and that was a hard gig. That was 7 shows a night and 2 on a Saturday, and for 6 months we didn't get any days off. With that came a lot of pressure, with having to remember all the different routines, and as I got older there was also pressure for your weight and competition with other dancers, and sometimes this could be quite stressful and put a lot of pressure on you, and you could be isolated, especially if you were one of the more talented performers.
My name is Paul Richards. I'm a horse racing journalist. My first game of hockey was in 1980. I coached New Brunswick in 2002. And I stopped coaching Brunswick in 2009. Then 2 years at Essendon, helping out, just picking up balls really, and been coaching Holds the Barons ever since. Well, I always thought I'd play for Australia, but I never got anywhere near it. And then once that was obvious, was to win a premiership here, playing in the ones, which we lost the grand final. But probably that was always wanted to win it, but didn't do it. Didn't give myself a chance. Next door, we used to train till 8:30, 9:30 or whatever, and then go in there and just stay there talking, drinking, eating pizza till 3 in the morning. So all the good work we'd done at training was undone pretty quickly. And then we'd play on the weekend and usually lose, and then do the same thing. Just stay out till 1 and 2 in the morning saying, if only we'd done this, never actually clicking that perhaps we shouldn't have. 6 hours of beers after our training session before the game. We had a good time. Life advice would be everything happens for a reason. So don't waste time. Don't waste too much time wondering about what's happened. Just move on. Sporting clubs are great. Meet lots of people. So I highly recommend that. Just stay positive. Just keep. If there's a problem, fix it. Don't worry about it. Just fix it. That seems to be working okay.
Collingwood initially had a bad reputation for having a lot of colour, for want of a better word. As I opened, for the first month, I would lock the door as soon as it got dark. And it didn't take me very long to realise that there was nothing that scary out there. Once I got connected to the community and got to find out the locals, it was fine. Collingwood's an amazing space. It's just, you've got housing commission, you've got $1 million apartments, you've got the gamut. Personally, it's reading people. It's improved my hairdressing, understanding what people want and how to give it to them. At the end of the day, a good haircut is not a technical one, but it's the one that someone wants. So if you can recreate what they're looking for, it's the best haircut in the world. Smith Street is now the coolest street in the world, and I don't feel as though me being here has helped that, but it doesn't hurt. I mean, it's really sad for me to leave here because it's fantastic and I love it. If you're in another area, people, they would be reluctant to walk out with hair with foils and colour on it. And here, I've had people go to next door to the bar and order a coffee or a wine with a hair full of colour, and it really doesn't matter. I feel as though I found a home in my hairdressing. I've always felt like at left of centre. I've worked in lots of different types of salons in different areas, from suburbs to Richmond to South Yarra, and I found my home here because it was not quite anything goes, but diversity works here. And that's probably the thing that I adored about coming to Collingwood, feeling as though you could just be and people accepted everything. I guess that's the kicker.
Exercise is a very big part of my life. I think, most days I try and get out and do some exercise, whether it's going to the gym, going out running. Running's always a good one to do because it takes your mind away from a lot of things. You go into this sort of different place. Just setting aside some time to work on your assignments or even just work on revising, that's something that I really enjoy, doing that sort of thing. I've always found that it's a hard balance between the exercise and the study. Studying always is very important, and I've gotten bogged down recently. I did struggle to keep up with the running and the gym work at some stage because I just was getting so far behind in work. Definitely struggled with that, and getting past that barrier, it can be very tough. It is hard trying to pull yourself away from study because at the end of the day you've got a goal of trying to achieve something and get to a certain point in your career. I know that's always going to be a factor, but you're always got to keep that work-life balance. And I'm still struggling, but I've tried my hardest to try and keep on top of the exercise, on top of the work. It's a hard balance, and I've got to try and find that at some stage. I have a goal at the end, so that's kind of why I keep doing it.
All my friends were like, don't be shocked, Barry, this is something it will be for many, many years in your mind. Dan and Andrew said that they were going to be in lockdown for the next 14 days. Yeah, so it was very dramatic. My name is Barry. I'm 28 years old. I live in North Melbourne. I'm a community worker. My background is a youth worker. I heard it through the news. It was just cases, COVID-19 cases. It was too much high here. Normally they'll call us for any other incidents, emergency incidents, but for this time they didn't call us. Other buildings that they were supposed to be locked down as well, but they didn't. I don't know what it was through their mind, but for us it was just like, this is a discrimination kind of thing. The permanence of the whole building, so it was all over the police. Some people got arrested. I got threatened sometimes. They had the guns almost to try and face me. It was very, very intimidating. Pretty much telling us, we're refugees. Like food wasn't as suitable for us. But majority here are like Muslims, so they didn't give us halal food. There was no access to go outside for fresh air. Medication was a bit hard because they couldn't let us to get medications. We're grateful to be in Australia, but also they treat us like crap, basically. We did a lot of the community did a lot of things. I did a lot of programs and events around my own organisation called Young Australian People. For me, it was trying to figure out what to do next in lockdown. I called a couple of my friends who are community workers, so I told them we need basic essentials, so bread, milk, eggs, all that kind of stuff. I'm the chairperson of the Eritrean community of Australia. Australia is very I know it's a racist country, but Australia is also a multicultural as well. So there was like, the Muslim community, there was the Christian community, there was the Jewish community coming down. So they all came along and supported us. Main thing was any kind of emergency, we all stick together.
So my name's Etienne Palmieri and I'm from France. I was born in the south of France, but half my family is Australian, so that's why I moved to Australia. I moved here 3 months ago because I decided to study in Australia. Mainly the weather, which is where I come from. It's a tropical island, so it's a bit different to the temperate weather in Melbourne. We don't have winters back where I live, so it's going to be a new thing for me. That's about it, really. Well, technically, I don't have a home here. I have my grandparents' house, but it is nice to know that when I do come here, there's somewhere to stay. Yeah, it's just really the same feeling as like if I go back to France, where it's like I've got 2 homes, so it's a nice feeling. Well, I'd say that I have 2 homes. It's not the same. Vibe, like one side is my close family and the other side's a bit grandparents and cousins and that, so it's not a immediate family, but in a way it is kind of similar. I'd say for now probably France, but it might change soon because it's just probably adapting to the country really.
My name's Brad McGee, I'm 20 years old and I'm originally from northern Tasmania, but I've relocated to Melbourne recently. So at the moment I'm studying a Bachelor of Communications with a major in digital media at Deakin University in Burwood. My passion for media has sort of just developed from being around cameras for the last 5 or 6 years. Ever since sort of year 9 media art back at school, I've just had I've really been drawn to them, and then buying my own camera, the Canon 80D, and getting more into like landscape shots, some farm photography, and now recently moving into sports photography, which I'm really passionate about. It's all been really fun in helping me realise my passion. So at the moment I'm interested specifically in sports media, so developing content and, like you can see here, editing post-match graphics and that sort of thing for my local soccer team is sort of really where it's lying at the moment. Well, when choosing my career path, the sort of main influence for me was I've always been interested in sort of films and directing and that sort of thing, but I've never been too good at videography. So diverting into sports media and photography has been a sort of real way to decide on, yeah, that's the career path for me. So at the moment, other than university, when I'm trying to make media, I have my local sport team, which I do the match photography for, the graphics for, run the social media account for as well. But I also just do some stuff in my own free time. Got some mates that model for me sometimes, take photos of cars, tractors, just whatever I can, document my surroundings, edit it and share it with the world. So in terms of career path, I'd love to get into either the role of digital content producer for a sports team, or just a club photographer, or even just freelance photography, doing some sports media, maybe a bit of agriculture media on the side, sort of where I want to head in the future.
Hey, I'm Sam. I've recently moved here from New Zealand. I'm studying fashion design, and that's pretty much the main reason why I moved over here. I came to Australia for my course. I've heard a lot of word that RMIT is actually a great uni for fashion design, which is, yeah, one of the main reasons. I actually came over with my mum. She helped me move into my student accommodation. But after a little while, she eventually left. So it was just me on my own. Like the first time when she just left, I was a little bit like, uh-oh, uh-oh. My hopes and expectations when I first came over here was to explore the city a lot more, go out a little bit more, meet some new people, and yeah, just explore a different country, a different city. My experience in Melbourne wasn't quite what I had expected at first, mainly because of COVID and how that affected my social life. Pretty much spent an entire year locked away. But there have also been some great sides to it all, especially being in the student accommodation that I was in. I actually ended up having a very good year. I had a group of friends that I could pretty much see every day and hang out with in their room. So it was great, yeah, but there were definitely some negatives and downsides to it all. When I moved over, I pretty much left behind close family all at home, and also all my close friends that I grew up with. So that was quite hard actually, saying bye to them all and kind of moving on to the next chapter of my life without any of them. Moving has definitely made me a stronger person in quite a few ways. It did really teach me a lot about myself and how I deal with hard situations. My best memory I've had over here, I've had so many. Some of the times we've been out have been really fun. Some like really funny memories, great memories on that.
Hi, so I'm Eilish and currently an international. I have lived in Melbourne for 3 years now. So since 3 years ago in 2019, I found Vietnam and came to Australia to study high school. And the reason I do that is that it gives me a new start and a new experience for myself. So during I study high school, making friends is not so easy, but lucky for me is that I have a small group of overseas students too, and later we become very close. I think they make my high school life here more memorable than ever. Talking about my homestay experience, I live with an Australian lady in a homestay. She's a very lovely person, and I think the most interesting is that, especially during the COVID lockdown time, we all celebrate my 17th and 18th birthday during that lockdown. It really strange experience, but it's fun though. The difficulty in studying, it should be like the COVID lockdown time. I got a lot of trouble with that. However, to overcome those difficulties, I'm glad that I have a very supportive people surround me, which is my homestay host, my friend, my teacher, and especially my family from far away. They always call me and cheer me up so that I can slowly get back on the track of my studying.
My name is Peter Vaughan, and having left school at the age of 15, I worked for 3 or 4 different jobs, and then had the feeling or the idea of joining the police force, which I joined in 1961. I worked mostly in the southern suburbs and at Williamstown CIB, where I was a detective sergeant in charge, and it's where I was when I retired. I guess mostly it's as a detective, really assisting people who themselves had hard times, whether it was being robbed, being assaulted, and their houses broken into, and doing the best you could to bring their lives back to normal. Because of the problems between the Greek Cypriots and the Turkish Cypriots, in 1964 150 different civilian police from 5 different countries went to Cyprus, and 40 were from Australia. I served in the 4th contingent from May 1967 to May 1968. A lot of it was maintaining, well, dare I say, peace between the two communities, but on more civilian levels than the military. I would certainly go back, would, support my work and what I did in the police force, and it certainly was a different type of duty that anyone could do by the 12 months serving in Cyprus.
Hi, I'm Philip Kukir. I'm 56 years old and I am principal of St Francis Xavier School in Montmorency. In my first class when I was 20, and it's been a long time. It's now been 19 years as a principal, and I'm getting up to that 40 years in education. The position of principal is often an unpopular one. It's a position that not many people are applying for these days. I especially encourage women to step up, and I find that really, really important. I have 7 people on my leadership team at the moment, and I'm the only male. I think it's important that we acknowledge that women have great talents and need to step up into those leadership positions, really going on to principalship and leading our schools. Well, it was interesting because I started at a new school 6 weeks before COVID hit. So here I was trying to establish myself at a new school and establish my expectations with students, with teachers, with the parent community. And we went into a 2-year hibernation with COVID in education. And that was something that no teacher had ever done before, no principal, so nothing that we studied for or prepared for or we learnt about. I'd be planning to take more rests over the next 4 years that I have in the past. Haven't been able to take rests during remote learning for the last 2 years, but it's important again that I look after myself, because if I fall, the rest of the school will fall as well. And it's important that, I go out 6 feet on top of the ground rather than 6 feet under the ground. That's really, really important that I look after myself and my health. And like when I left my last school, I look around the school and say, yep, I've done everything I can here. It's time to move on. Maybe I need to start considering my own health and my own work balance over the next couple of years. It'll make me a better principal. It'll make me a better person and a better family man as well.
I am Hongmi Kim, and I grew up and born in Republic of Korea. And when I was 15, I moved to Malaysia to study IGCSE for 2 years. And after that, due to COVID-19, I went back to the Republic of Korea and do online courses at Trinity College. So now currently, I'm studying Bachelor of Design at the University of Melbourne. Oh, my most challenging part was English at first, because when I went to Malaysia, I did not know how to speak fluently, and because it was my first time learning all the subjects using English. It was hard to make friends because since I knew my English was not good, I lost my confidence speaking in front of people. However, people were so kind to me and helped me to improve English by teaching some words that I did not know. And also in Melbourne, the most difficult part was living alone. I did not know living alone will be my most difficult part at first. It was my first time living alone without parents, because in Malaysia I lived with my mom, and I realized that I had to bear everything by myself, such as cleaning house and buying grocery and buying things. I did not know it took a lot of time and efforts for doing this. So everyone knows that studying in Korea is difficult and it's hard to get to university compared to other countries. And also in Korea, it's more concentrated about theories and memorizing everything to prepare all the exam. But in Malaysia and Australia, they're all focused more about like practical and group projects, but which make me how to communicate with other people and also cooperate with others. Looking back myself, I'm glad that I'm studying overseas. If I have one more chance, I will definitely study overseas again.
My name is Siti and I'm from Singapore.
What is your country of origin?
I would say Singapore, but my parents are from Indonesia.
Where else in the world have you lived?
I've lived in Singapore, Indonesia, and America. I didn't find it that difficult because I was born in Singapore and I was essentially raised around Singaporeans and people from other cultures. My mom liked to raise me more Indonesian when I was younger, but as I grow older I find like I was losing touch with my Indonesian culture as I was trying to assimilate more to like my peers. Yeah.
Did you ever feel lost or isolated and struggling to find your sense of self?
I definitely feel lost most of my childhood because I didn't really find a lot of people like me. So I guess it was like I didn't really feel more towards one culture or the other because my whole life I was just always moving around. I'm pretty exposed to different cultures for my age and I feel like I fit in better. It's always like a natural instinct for me to just assimilate.
If you could give advice to a young third culture kid growing up, what would it be?
It would be to stay in touch with your roots. Maybe if you've, like me, kind of lost touch with the language at some point in your life, try to pick it back up and yeah, just take pride in it. I know some people are like self-conscious about it, but yeah, just like take pride in it and enjoy where you come from. Yeah.
This is an accommodation, a two-person bedroom apartment where I was supposed to share it with a friend of mine, but we had another guy, a friend of ours, crash in halfway through, and we've been living as a three-guy for 2 months now.
This place is my house. I live with two other people.
When I first walk in through the door, I see the living room and all I can think is vile, grossed out, messy, garbage dump.
Our fridge only has Pepsi cans and a few bottles of alcohol and maybe leftovers from KFC.
In my fridge currently there are 43 cans of Pepsi can Coke that I have been stocking up for myself.
He just drinks like 10 cans a day. Yeah, he goes to Costco every day to just buy like a 24 pack back home.
I do my dishes relatively often now. I admit I was quite lazy into doing my dishes a couple of months back, but recently I've started being more proactive in washing all the dish that I use.
I don't really do the dishes since I just do takeaways and there's no reason for me to do it. My dining area is just a really small table and it's always filled with stuff on it from the third person again. Just empty plastic bags and leftover unwashed dishes and stuff. So we don't really have a dining table. The last time we cleaned the living room was probably a month ago. I was really busy with assignments, but the third person came and he made the room messy, so it's not my fault.
That's bullshit. first memory of cooking would have been, most likely I would have been about probably say 4 years old, and I can remember standing on a little stool next to Mum, and being brought up in an Italian family, Mum was always making fresh pasta, and I was always so intrigued by that. And I used to love watching her using the pasta machine. So I remember that I used to always drag up the little stool that my dad had made for me, so I could stand up at the bench next to her and help her make the pasta, and my job was to wind the pasta machine. So the inspiration for cooking would have most definitely have been just me being a part of an Italian culture. So all of our family, friends, and I've got vivid memories of us as a family going to visit many Italian families, and there was always big congregations and gatherings, and all of those gatherings were always centered around food. So there'd be many weekends spent making passata, which is the tomato sauce with fresh tomatoes, and that would take a whole weekend with many families, and that was one of the greatest things I used to love about food and cooking. So with all of these memories of having food and cooking a part of my life and a strong part of our Italian culture, this brought with me many strong values as I grew up and became an adult myself, and also a mum, because I wanted to have my family and the children to also experience such great values that food and cooking would bring to their lives. So food's the centre of everyone's lives, and it's something that can bring people together no matter what.
My name is Leandra. I'm 18. I'm half Indonesian, half Italian. My mum is Indonesian and my dad is Italian. Experiencing both cultures. Probably how close everyone is. Families and friends and like neighbours and stuff, they're all really close. The food. Yes, I have a few times. Really hot and humid, but I really like the weather over there and the other culture in general. No, I haven't. I would like to go to Italy. Probably Indonesian, because like I haven't been to Italy and I don't really know much as much as about the culture and stuff as I do about Indonesia. Probably because even though my dad's Italian, he's lived here for most of his life, whereas my mom like immigrated from Indonesia when she was older. Microaggressions, I suppose, make weird comments and stuff. No, I haven't. Not necessarily. Probably other factors. I think it can be like you feel excluded from certain parts of society, I guess. Probably because it's not like I really feel like I fit in with either white or Asian. They're accepting, yes, but I feel like I don't fully fit in with either family because of being mixed race, I suppose.
Well, I wasn't really living until I realised I was. It's crazy when you think about it. The first 5 years of your life is just a blur. And then all of a sudden, it just clicks and you become sentient. As they say, the dawn of self-consciousness. My name is Ahmed Hakim. I'm 35 years old, and I'm currently in search of the meaning of life and the correlation between that and peace and happiness. I'm not really sure what triggered this phenomena. What I do remember is the silly game of peekaboo. You know, something at that moment when you're young, you fear it. But then all of a sudden, you have this realization. It's not that, you know, fearful black magic or somebody appearing out of nowhere, and then the truth becomes apparent. As my self-consciousness came to prominence, I could see that I was sent on a journey to find inner peace. It was as if this 4-year-old was charged with the burden of superhuman intellect. What is it that brought me this peace? Well, this peace that I speak of, I'm not yet sure that I have achieved it. In fact, the more sentient I become, this peace or this happiness becomes harder to achieve. You know, think about it, when you're a clueless child, happiness is very easy to achieve. But the more you become self-conscious and aware, the more it eludes you. If there's one thing I want to highlight, is that this experience, this phenomenon, it's not unique to me. All humans experience this. It's what makes us humane. If not, the world would be completely different. For better or for worse, who knows? But what's important is that you're able to think.